Hello everybody, in this video I'm going to do a quick intro of what pi is, or PIE. Pi is also known as the principle of inclusion and exclusion, and is a method of counting how many of at least one of a set. And this may seem confusing, that definition I just gave, but today we're just going to be doing some problems by using this method called pi. So the first problem we're going to go over is a problem with two sets. This problem says there are two classes, Spanish and Latin. 12 people are taking Spanish and 9 people are taking Latin. 3 people are taking both. How many people are in at least one of the classes? So, at first we may think that it is just 12 plus 9. And if you're more advanced, you might want to start making a Venn diagram. For example, this is Spanish, this is Latin, and then you have 12 people in Spanish overall, 9 people in Latin overall. So there's 3 people in the middle. Sorry, that's a little bit too small. So Spanish, Latin, there's 3 people in both of them, and there's 12 in the entire Spanish circle. So this means that there are 9 taking only Spanish. And in Latin, there are 9 people taking inside this entire circle, so there must only be 6 people outside of the 3. So summing this together, we have 9 plus 3 plus 6 equals 18. However, this method might take a lot of time if you're going into more complex sets. For example, if you had 4 sets, how would you deal with that? Because there is no Venn diagram with 4 sets. So we're going to start by using pi with only 2 sets, and we'll move on to more complicated sets later. So we're trying to find how many people are taking at least one of the classes. So again, let's go back to the beginning with 12 plus 9. But if you think about it, we've actually overcounted, and this is where the definition of pi comes in, because there's inclusion and exclusion. We're including things, and then we're taking out things. So so far our number is 12 plus 9. However, if we realize that we've actually overcounted the 3 people that are taking both, because we've counted them twice, one inside the 12 and one inside the 9. So if we've counted the number of both people, I guess, twice, then if we just subtract the number of people in both classes once, then we will be good. So 12 plus 9 minus 3 to compensate for the overcounting gives us our answer that we got before of 18. Now, this would be much simpler if you don't do all this thinking. Of course, you can just do in your brain 12 plus 9 minus 3, and you'll be done, instead of making a Venn diagram. Now, this problem may seem really easy, so we're going to move on to classes, for example, 3 classes or 3 sets. In general, it would be 3 sets. So before we go on to the next problem, I'm just going to explain this really quickly. So say we have a set A and we have a set B, and there are certain people in both the sets, and we want to find how many people are in at least one of the sets. So at least in A or at least in B. So this formula just basically denotes how to find it, where this upside down U right here is the intersection of the sets A and B. So say our set A is 1, 2, and 3. And our set B is 2, 3, 4. So the intersection of A and B would just be 2 and 3, because those are the ones that they have in common. So it's just the numbers. So the number of people in A, number of people in B, and the number of people in the intersection of A and B. Subtracting that number. Okay, so now let's move on to 3 sets. So here's our problem. There are 3 classes, Spanish, Latin, and French. There are 12 in Spanish, 9 in Latin, and 13 in French. There are 3 in Spanish and Latin, there are 4 in Latin and French, there are 2 in Spanish and French, and there is 1 in all of the classes. So this problem asks for us again to find how many are in at least one of the classes. And generally when you see at least, this means that you're going to want to use, probably it's a good idea, if it's a counting problem, it's probably a good idea to use pi. But anyways, back to our problem, we want to find first how many are in at least one of the in one class. So 12 plus 9 plus 13. For now, this is what we have. And then we see that we have, again, overcounted somehow, because we accidentally counted the number of people in two classes 2 times each. For example, Spanish, a person who is in both Spanish and Latin is counted 2 times. A person in Latin and French is counted 2 times, and a person in Spanish and French is counted 2 times. So we can make up for this by subtracting one of the people in 2 classes. So minus 3 plus 4 plus 2. And lastly, let's take a look at our Spanish people in all classes, which there is only one person in all of the classes. So this person in all of the classes is counted 3 times in the 12 plus 9 plus 13 is counted 3 times, and the person and then is subtracted 3 times again, because of the fact that there are 3 of these each, and it's been counted in all of them. So that means the person so far who is in all classes has been counted 0 times. And in order to compensate for that, we're going to have to add in that one person. So this gives us 12 plus 9 plus 13, which is 21 plus 13, and that is 34. Minus 3 plus 4 plus 2, which is 9, and then finally adding 1. So this gives us a total of 26, if I calculated correctly. 26 people in at least one of the classes. So that's it for today. If you haven't realized, there are many patterns that have been going on. You see the alternating minuses and then the plus. And actually, I'm going to go and write this in a set form like I did before. So right here we have our formula for 3 people, which is much longer than we had before. However, you don't really have to memorize this formula if you think about it. It's just number of people in one set minus number of people in 2 set, and then adding the number of people in 3 sets. And actually, if you keep going on to say A, B, C, and D, it's exactly the same thing. It's number of people in 1 set minus 2 set plus 3 set plus minus 4 set. And this actually goes on forever, and this can be proven, except we're not going to do it in this video. In the next video, we'll be going over in the next video on pi, we'll be going over how to count people in at least 2 sets. And there's actually different ways to do it. For example, you could just subtract, but there are actually different ways to do it. We'll just be going over one in the next video. But anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed.